There is a number that defies logic. $3 billion. That is the estimated net worth of Michael Jordan. We know him as the greatest basketball player of all time. We assume he got rich because he was the best at his job. But if you look at the bank records, that is a lie. Here is the capital logic. In 15 seasons with the Chicago Bulls, winning 6 championships and 5 MVPs, Michael Jordan was paid a total of $94 million. That's a fortune to us, but in the world of billionaires, it's a rounding error. Today, Jordan makes that much money roughly every 4 months. He didn't build his empire by playing basketball. He built it by breaking the fundamental rule of sports employment. See, before 1984, athletes were just high-paid employees. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kareem, they all signed endorsement deals. A company like Converse would hand them a flat check, say $100,000, and say, "Wear our shoes." It was a rental fee. If the company sold 10 pairs or 10 million pairs, the athlete got paid the exact same amount. The company took the risk, but the company kept all the upside. Michael Jordan changed the physics of the deal. In 1984, he was a rookie who didn't even want to sign with Nike. He wanted Adidas. Nike was a struggling running shoe company known for making waffle-bottom shoes for white suburban dads. They had zero credibility on the asphalt. Their stock price had tanked by 50% in the previous year. They were desperate. And because they were desperate, Jordan's agent, David Falk, and his mother, Dolores Jordan, saw a glitch in the matrix. They didn't ask for a bigger paycheck. They didn't ask for a signing bonus. They demanded the one thing no rookie had ever received, an equity in the transaction. They demanded a royalty clause, 5%. It sounds small, but that single percentage point turned Michael Jordan from a player into a partner. It wasn't a salary, it was a tax on every dunk, every jump shot, and every step taken by millions of kids around the world. This is the story of the 5% clause, the contract that proved a paycheck makes you rich, but ownership makes you wealthy. To understand the revolution, you first have to understand the tyranny of the old world. In 1984, the business of sports marketing was a feudal system. The kings were companies like Converse and Adidas. The athletes, even the legends like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, were just well-paid serfs. The industry operated on a model we call the flat fee trap. It was brutally simple. A brand would pay a player a fixed annual salary, maybe $100,000 if you were a superstar, to wear their sneakers. In exchange, the player became a human billboard. On the surface, this looked like easy money, but financially, it was a terrible deal. It was a classic labor versus capital imbalance. The athlete took all the physical risk. If they blew out their knee, the money stopped. But the corporation held all the financial upside. If Magic Johnson won the NBA Finals and Converse sold 5 million pairs of weapons, Magic didn't get a penny more than his flat fee. The player's income was capped, the company's profit was infinite. This was the cash is trash trap. The brands treated players as rental properties, not partners. Enter Michael Jordan. When Jordan was drafted in 1984, he walked into this rigged system with zero intention of changing it. In fact, he didn't even want to talk to Nike. At the time, Nike was not the cultural giant we know today. They were a struggling company known for making waffle-bottom running shoes for white suburban dads. They had zero credibility on the asphalt. Their stock price had tanked by 50% in the previous year. They were desperate for a foothold in the NBA. Jordan looked at Nike and saw a sinking ship. He was obsessed with Adidas. He wore Adidas in practice. He told his agent, "Just get me a deal with Adidas." He didn't care about equity or royalties. He just wanted to wear the cool shoes and get his flat fee like everyone else. He was fully prepared to sign the standard capped employee contract that would have cost him billions of dollars over his lifetime. But Nike was backed into a corner. They couldn't compete on cool, and they couldn't compete on legacy. To get the rookie in the room, they had to be willing to break the fundamental law of the industry. They had to be willing to do the one thing Converse and Adidas refused to do: share the throne. The most important meeting in sports history almost didn't happen. Michael Jordan flat out refused to get on the plane. He had no interest in Nike. In his mind, the decision was already made. He was an Adidas man. The only reason he even walked into the boardroom in Beaverton, Oregon, was because of his mother, Dolores Jordan. She told him, "You are going to go listen. You may not like it, but you are going to listen." So a reluctant rookie and his agent, David Falk, sat down across from Nike's executives. This is where the power dynamic shifted. Usually, the brand holds the leverage, but David Falk, a man known for his aggressive take-no-prisoners style, smelled blood in the water. He knew Nike was desperate. They had allocated a marketing budget of about $2.5 million, hoping to split it among several rookies. But Falk told them to forget the other players. He wanted them to take their entire budget and bet it all on one man, Michael Jordan. Nike agreed. They offered a package worth $500,000 a year for 5 years. In 1984, that was an astronomical number, more than any other NBA player was making for shoes. It was stupid money. Most agents would have taken the cash, signed the papers, and popped the champagne. It was a guaranteed win. But Falk and the Jordan family weren't looking for a paycheck. They were looking for a legacy. Falk understood capital logic. He realized that a fixed salary, no matter how high, is still a cage. It caps your value. If Michael Jordan became a global icon, $500,000 would eventually look like minimum wage. So, in the heat of the negotiation, Falk threw a grenade onto the table. He didn't just want the $500,000, he demanded a royalty. He looked at Nike's founder, Phil Knight, and essentially said, "We don't just want to be paid to wear the shoe. We want to be paid when you sell the shoe." The room went quiet. This wasn't done for rookies. It was barely done for legends. It shifted the relationship from employer-employee to partner-partner. Nike's executives hesitated. Giving away a percentage of revenue is the cardinal sin of corporate finance. It eats into margins. It sets a dangerous precedent. But they had no choice. They needed a savior, and they were about to agree to the terms that would eventually cost them and earn them billions. The contract was signed, and on paper it looked like Nike had surrendered. They gave Jordan the $500,000 salary, stock options, and the holy grail, a royalty clause. The specific terms gave Jordan roughly 5% of the wholesale price of every pair sold. But Nike's executives weren't naive. They were businessmen. They knew that betting their entire marketing budget on a 21-year-old rookie was financial suicide. So they built a trap door into the contract. It was a termination clause designed to protect the company if Jordan turned out to be a bust. To keep the deal alive beyond year 3, Jordan had to meet one of 3 impossible conditions. 1, win Rookie of the Year. 2, become an all-star or average 20 points per game. 3, sell $4 million worth of shoes in the first 3 years. That sales target, $4 million over 3 years, was Nike's optimistic projection. That was the ceiling of what they thought was possible. Then, the shoe dropped. When the Air Jordan 1 arrived, it didn't just break the market, it broke the rules. The shoe was primarily black and red, violating the NBA's strict uniformity of uniform code. The league sent a letter banning the shoes and threatening a $5,000 fine every time Jordan stepped on the court. Nike didn't back down. They saw the greatest marketing opportunity in history. They told Jordan, "Wear the shoes. We'll pay the fines." They spun the controversy into a TV ad campaign that declared the NBA threw them out of the game. Unfortunately, the NBA can't keep you from wearing them. The result was consumer hysteria. Nike expected to sell $4 million worth of shoes in 3 years. In the first year alone, the Air Jordan brand sold $126 million. They didn't just beat the termination clause, they incinerated it. And because of that tiny, overlooked 5% clause, Michael Jordan didn't just get his $500,000 salary. He took a 5% cut of a $126 million empire. In 1 year, Jordan earned more from royalties than his entire 5-year NBA salary combined. The safety net was gone. The trap door was welded shut. Jordan wasn't an employee anymore. He was the most profitable partner in the history of commerce. Suddenly, Michael Jordan wasn't just a basketball player. He was a global economy. The 5% clause triggered a phenomenon that every capitalist dreams of, but few employees ever achieve: the decoupling of time and money. This is the ultimate goal of capital logic. In the NBA, even for a superstar, income is linear. You are paid for your labor. If you don't play, you don't get paid. Even worse, your earning potential is artificially capped. The NBA has a salary cap that dictates the maximum amount a team can pay a player, regardless of how much value they bring to the franchise. For most of his career, Jordan was arguably underpaid by the Chicago Bulls because the structural rules of the league prevented him from capturing his true market value. But the Nike contract had no salary cap. It had no ceiling. It was purely performance-based equity. By securing a royalty, Jordan essentially built a toll booth on the sneaker industry. Every time a kid in Tokyo, Paris, or Chicago bought a pair of Jordans, Michael got a piece of the action. He didn't have to be in the room. He didn't have to play a game. He didn't even have to be awake. This created a flywheel of passive income that was completely immune to the ups and downs of his athletic career. Think about 1993. Jordan shocked the world and retired to play minor league baseball. He was no longer on an NBA court. His basketball salary disappeared. In the old model, the flat fee model, his endorsement money would have dried up because he wasn't visible on TV. But because he owned a percentage of the brand, his income didn't stop. In fact, it grew. The brand had momentum. The shoes were still selling, so the checks kept clearing. While his peers were fighting tooth and nail for a 10% raise in their annual contracts, Jordan's income was scaling exponentially. He had moved from the labor side of the equation to the capital side. He wasn't trading hours for dollars. He was leveraging the manufacturing and distribution power of a billion-dollar corporation to print money for himself. He proved that the most valuable asset an athlete has isn't their jump shot, it's their ownership of the intellectual property they create. Today, the numbers are almost impossible to comprehend. The Jordan brand is no longer just a shoe line, it is a standalone economic superpower. Last year alone, the brand generated over $6.6 billion in revenue for Nike, and thanks to that 5% clause, the one his mother forced him to fight for, Michael's cut was estimated $330 million. Let that sink in. In one single year of retirement, Michael Jordan earned more than 3 times his entire 15-year NBA playing salary combined. He makes more money while sleeping in 2024 than he did winning championships in the 1990s. This brings us to the final distinction of capital logic, the difference between being rich and wealthy. Rich is a high salary. Rich is Shaq making $20 million a year to play center, but rich is fragile. If you stop working, the money stops flowing. You are still, at the end of the day, labor. Wealthy is ownership. Wealthy is Michael Jordan realizing that he wasn't the labor, he was the catalyst. He understood that his influence was the asset, and he refused to rent it out for a flat fee. He demanded to own the result. Because of one contract negotiation in 1984, Michael Jordan didn't just become the greatest basketball player of all time. He became the blueprint for every modern athlete entrepreneur, from LeBron James to Conor McGregor. He taught them that the jersey is temporary, but the equity is forever. He didn't just play the game, he bought the league.